Hey everybody, welcome back to Accounting 1101, where we are all about receivables in our unit right now. And today we're going to talk about a really fun topic that we have to talk about when we deal with receivables, when we extend credit to people. What happens when people don't pay? Yeah, it happens, right? You lend someone some money and they don't pay you back. You sell an item on credit and they don't pay you back. How do we deal with those people? Well, I'll tell you what we don't do. You all remember the Big Lebowski when they had the mix-up and they went into the dude's apartment and put his face in the toilet? Where's the money, Lebowski? We don't do that when someone isn't going to pay on their account receivable. You may remember the Family Guy episode where Stewie beats up Brian because Brian owes money. Stewie beats him up. Where's my money? We don't really do that. We definitely don't behave like the Russian mafia and send people with a crowbar to knock a few kneecaps there, and put them in the old house of pain.
The house of pain.
So what do we do? The reality on an uncollectible receivable, a situation where we think we're not going to get paid back. When we extend credit to some people, the reality is they're not going to pay their debt, unfortunately. That's the way the world works. We consider those accounts uncollectible. And we don't know which customers aren't going to pay us back on their account receivable ahead of time. If we knew that information, we wouldn't have sold to them on credit in the first place, right? Obviously. So we don't know exactly ahead of time who's going to be uncollectible. So we have a new account we have to deal with. It's called bad debt expense. And right there it tells you what kind of an account it is. It's an expense account. It's an operating expense that we incur because of a failure to be able to collect a receivable. We have a receivable out there, we can't collect it. That needs to be reflected in bad debt expense. So we have two different methodologies here for accounting for these uncollectible receivables that are out there. The first one we'll talk about, and we're going to do two separate videos on these. The first one is called the direct write-off method. And that's exactly what it sounds like. We found out that a customer is not going to pay us back. We know for certain we're not getting it back. So we directly write off their account. And so as you can see there, it says we record bad debt only when an account is deemed worthless. Customer's gone bankrupt and they haven't paid for a number of years. Maybe they died. Who knows? We know for a fact they're not going to pay. We write off that debt. That is mainly used in small companies with very few receivables. In big boy world, in the big boy accounting game, we use what's called the allowance method. In the allowance method, we estimate bad debt proactively. And we kind of try to predict what bad debt will be. So we estimate it proactively and kind of make an accounting for it that way instead of waiting until people prove they won't pay. And so under the allowance method, we record bad debt by estimating uncollectible accounts at the end of a period, making an adjusting entry here. And that's the way that GAAP requires us to do it. Generally accepted accounting principles state that we need to make an allowance for bad debts, and we need to consider those basically as we go along instead of just waiting for them to not be paid. So next time, two different videos here. I'm going to show you how to use that direct write-off method, and I'm going to show you how to use the allowance method. And hopefully we'll work a few problems out in our homework, and you will be a pro by the time we're done. So we'll see you back here next time for those videos.